Welcome back to my channel, guys. I hope you're doing really well. Today I'm going to be reviewing Friday's championship games, starting off with Derby 2, Fulham 1. Fulham's promotion isn't quite yet confirmed just yet because Derby put in a really good performance and managed to come away with a 2-1 win. But in the first half, Fulham were excellent, controlled the game to be fair, and it was a really lovely goal. Fulham playing down the left-hand side, Fabio Carvalho picking up the ball, running into the box, lovely finish from him. 8th goal of the season now, and to be fair, it's really smart business from Liverpool to pick up Carvalho for only £7 million, and he's only 19 years old, first season really playing consistently at a top level, and he's performed really well. And Fulham, it will be disappointing obviously that they're losing Carvalho and for only £7 million, but given that he was out of contract at the end of the season, it's not such a bad deal. And then from Liverpool's point of view, they've avoided a tribunal, which is I guess convenient, because it's better to avoid a tribunal because those things drag out and they'll probably end up having to pay more than the £7 million that they are paying for Carvalho. But anyway, Fulham excellent in the first half, but after half time they just looked flat, to be fair, and that allowed Derby to come back into the game. And Luke Plange involved in both goals. Well taken first goal. I mean, how many times have we all seen players miss that sort of chance? But really good run from him. Took the first goal well. Second goal, a fantastic flick from Byrne on the right-hand side. And Lawrence, first time shot. I think it was a shot. It definitely wasn't a cross. But anyway, a shot goes into the box. Luke Plange, really good run. And then it forces Tonson Adarabioyo to do something. And he stuck out a leg and it went in. And to be fair, after that, Derby just parked the bus somewhat and held on, but they held on for a win. And you could argue that Fulham deserved to equalise. I mean, they created 2.26 XG. That's probably in part because not only Fulham are a really good team, obviously, but in the second half, once Derby took the lead, they did sit back, which allowed Fulham to create chances and have shots. And of course, Fulham had a free header in the box from Mitrovic. Very good save from Allsop. And then Carvalho, very good shot from him on the edge of the box, just hits the post, and Mitrovic taps in the rebound, but he's just offside. So that's unfortunate for him and Fulham. Fulham will obviously get promoted. This is just inevitably delayed. But as for Derby, fantastic result for them. And I wouldn't just quite rule them out just yet because they've got 4 games left. They have to win a minimum of 3 of them. But they're actually very winnable games, especially Cardiff at home on the last day of the season. So if Derby can win their next game, they might just go on a run. And I say that because the form they've shown throughout the whole season is a side that should really be mid-table. But obviously, they're 22nd. So I would not be surprised if Derby just went on a little run now and put pressure on Reading. But fair play to them. They definitely deserved a minimum of a draw, but to come back in the second half shows a lot of credit to them and Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney, after the game, said at half-time to his players, we're going to win. And to have that conviction, and I mean, obviously that's a small example of his man management, but it's shown with the squad he's had and the issues they've had to deal with off the pitch. Wayne Rooney's done a fantastic job. And if they do get relegated, or even if they stay up, I hope Wayne Rooney's there for next season. And Kitchener, Derby's potential preferred bidder, if he does officially become the owner, I hope he gives Rooney the chance to build a good Derby team next season. Next, though, we have Bournemouth 0, Borough 0. Not a great game, but a result that probably suits Borough more, given that they're going to Bournemouth, who are probably in all likelihood going to get promoted, and put in such a defensive display, especially Bamba. He looked really good on Friday. So, from Borough's point of view, it ends a run of back-to-back defeats, which is good for them. Clean sheet as well, away from home is fantastic. And they have to play Huddersfield, which is a difficult game, obviously, because Huddersfield are in the playoffs. But they've got to play Cardiff and Stoke at home. So, that's a fantastic chance for Borough to creep into the top 6. And given that Sheffield United lost on Friday, gives Borough even more of an opportunity to creep into the top 6. But as for Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth, not a particularly good performance. Billing has to score in the second half, by the way. Given his quality, how tall he is and how good he is in the air, I'd expect Billing to score that chance for sure. And with Bournemouth's squad, it was only Ethan Laird's third appearance for Bournemouth, and given that he was playing consistently for Swansea, and then he moved to Bournemouth in January, supposedly to play in a team that have better players and, well, arguably a better coach, and perhaps he's on more money at Bournemouth, it's not been a particularly good move from his point of view. But he'll be pleased that he got made an appearance, but in hindsight, it's probably better if he stayed at Swansea. But he played on Friday, looked okay, to be fair, but from Bournemouth's point of view, they're just creeping over the line, aren't they? I mean, Sheffield United away and Borough at home are difficult games, but 2-0 draws, arguably the worst team in both games, they're kind of just creeping over the line, and they're still giving Nottingham Forest or Huddersfield a slim chance of reaching the top two. But for Borough, like I said, they've got two very winnable home games coming up from now until the end of the season with Cardiff and Stoke at home. But the only big key issue for them is that Tavernier got injured, and you're hoping that it's not a serious injury because he's had a fantastic season for Borough. But speaking of Forest, Luton 1, Forest 0 in what was quite an even game, to be fair. And I'm someone that doesn't really like to talk about refereeing decisions too much, but there was a lot of controversy in this game. First of all, though, massive chance for Grabban in the first half. I think if that chance falls to Brennan Johnson, or if it falls to Grabban, who's playing consistently in the team, he finishes that. But he didn't, so opportunity missed for Forest. And then Adebayo for Luton, he should have scored with his chance. I expect him to score that chance anyway with his quality. But there was a little bit of controversy in this game. For me, I'm not sure it was a penalty because when the ball's crossed in, it's so close to Colback, he can't do too much about it. But also, he's running, and that's his motion. So even though the ball kind of hits him here and potentially his hand, it's kind of a grey area and a bit confusing whether it is a handball or not. And my philosophy is that if in doubt, just don't give a penalty or a foul. So I don't think it should have been a penalty. Unlike the Borough handball claim, Adam Smith was further away from the ball than Colback, and Adam Smith wasn't moving. So Adam Smith was standing there with his arms out and the ball hit his hand. So in my opinion, I think that was a penalty. Whereas with this one, Colback was a lot closer to the player and he was running with the ball. So it's harder to distinguish whether Colback deliberately put his arm in an unnatural position or whether he was just running because that's his body motion. So I'm not sure whether that was a penalty, but the referee gave it. Good penalty taken from Naismith. But then Forest, I think, should have deservedly taken their chance. I think it was Spence that should have scored. The ball was played in behind him, and even though Spence is in an offside position, because Fred Onyedinma plays the ball, it means that Spence becomes onside. So I think that goal should have stood. And then with the second yellow card, Surridge is in an offside position, but the Forest player got the last touch. So the Forest player effectively played Surridge in, but that means that Surridge is offside, meaning that the Sonny Bradley foul, which was a foul, would have been cancelled out. So I don't think Luton should have gone down to 10 men, but it didn't matter too much in the end because Luton hung on for a win. I think personally Forest deserved a draw. I think they were unlucky not to get a point, but fair play to Luton. Massive win for them off the back of a disappointing defeat against Huddersfield, and that solidifies their chance in the playoffs. As for Forest though, disappointing result, but this is only their first loss in 6. Well, certainly their first loss in 6, given that they've won 5 games in a row, which is fantastic. And because of Bournemouth's draw, they still have a chance of reaching the top 2. As do Huddersfield, who drew 2-2 against QPR. Huddersfield, I mean, throughout the season, they've been really good at set pieces, and that continues with Hogg getting across the first man, heading it down, and then Barbe just putting it in his own net. Unfortunate for him, and it would have been very easy for QPR to just collapse, given that they've been in really bad form, and they're away against a top 6 team. But to their credit, they came back, equalised through Luke Amos, who's having the best goal-scoring season of his career, probably the best season of his career in all fairness, and he'll be a key player for QPR next season. But then Huddersfield came back, made it 2-1, but then QPR, very good goal from Ilias Chair, who, like Amos, has had a great season, and in all fairness, a draw was probably a fair result, but then QPR, from their point of view, they're probably just glad it was just a much better performance than in recent weeks because they've been really poor and have collapsed and could have been involved in heavier defeats. But to their credit, like I said, they came back, got a 2-2 draw, and Mark Warburton will breathe a sigh of relief, that's for sure. As for Huddersfield, similar to Forest, I still think they've got a small chance of reaching the top 2, but they're going to have to start winning games. They're going to have to, in the last 4 games, they'll minimum have to win 3 of them in order to get the top 2. There's still a small chance for them to do that. Next, probably the most surprising results of the Friday games. Sheffield United 1, Reading 2. I'm a Reading fan, so I was absolutely buzzing with this result. I watched the game and Reading, really good performance. Don't get me wrong, Sheffield United were poor, but that doesn't take anything away from Reading. Excellent performance from them, especially in the first half. I thought Laurent was outstanding, and given that Tom McIntyre played in midfield, he was excellent. Baban Rahman, this is his first game under Paul Ince, and he was phenomenal. And yeah, like I said, Reading were excellent, and it's really suited Josh Laurent to actually play in the number 10 role because it's allowed him to press higher up the pitch and cover more areas of the pitch rather than just sit back in midfield and defence. And it was a lovely pass from him to play in Lucas Shaw. Excellent finish from him, fantastic goal, and he should have had a second. Ijara played him in, Shaw did everything right, turned onto his right foot, and then he just hits the post. Really unlucky from him. Reading should have been 2-0 up at half time, but then second half, you'd expect Sheffield United to come roaring back. I didn't think they did, really. I don't think they showed enough to equalise. But 90th minute, typical Reading, they let in a late goal. Iliman Ndiaye, fantastic finish from him. And to be fair, it was a Tom McIntyre mistake, really, given that Tom Holmes cleared the ball and then Tom McIntyre cleared it back towards the Reading goal. And then Sheffield United, and then John Egan did so well to bring the ball down, play it into Iliman Ndiaye. Fantastic finish from him. But then Reading, they lumped the ball up the pitch. Michael Morrison heads it forward to Tom McIntyre. Excellent finish. Absolute scenes and limbs in the away end. And a fantastic win for Reading. I don't think they're safe just yet because they've still got to play Swansea at home and Luton away, which are 2 very difficult games. But massive, massive step towards safety. As for Sheffield United, though, they're leaving the gap open just a little bit for Borough and maybe Blackburn. Although, given Blackburn's result on Friday, perhaps not. Peterborough 2, Blackburn 1. Disappointing from Blackburn, really. Only creating an XG of 0.65. But it looked like it was going to be 0-0 for a long time. Then Brendan Brereton Diaz, excellent header from him in the first half. The goal, for me, that goal should have stood. I know he used his arms to push the defender, but he barely touched the defender. I think the defender went down far too easily, and in my opinion, I think that goal should have stood. But Ben Brereton Diaz did score in the second half. An excellent finish from him to chest it onto the ground. First touch, and then bang, second touch, bottom left-hand corner. Excellent finish from him. That's his first goal in 2022, actually. So he'll be really pleased that he's finally scored in this calendar year. But then Peterborough, they came back in the second half. Of course, it was easier for them somewhat because Blackburn were down to 10 men, deserved second yellow card for Eden, and Peterborough were able to build a bit more momentum because they had an extra man. They went up the pitch and a really, really nice goal. First goal. I think it was a foul on Ben Brereton Diaz in the build-up, though, I must say. But to be fair to Peterborough, they took their goal really well, and then Jonson Clark-Harris laid it off, and Peterborough scored the second goal. And that's Jonson Clark-Harris' 3rd assist this season, and he scored 11 goals. So he's in all likelihood going to be playing in the Championship next season without Peterborough. And to be fair, I think he's earned a move. He's done really well for them, arguably being their player of the season. So I think he'll leave Peterborough, but this is a really good building block for Peterborough because they'll probably keep the majority of their squad, and you'd expect Grant McCann to be there next season. So Peterborough, it's been a very disappointing season for them, don't get me wrong, but they've got a lot to build on for next season in League One. As for Blackburn, just a massive missed opportunity with Sheffield United losing, Borough only drawing, and Forest losing as well, Huddersfield drawing, and you'd expect Blackburn to, maybe capitalise when they're playing Peterborough away from home, but to lose, very poor from them. And I said there was a chance for Blackburn to catch Sheffield United, but they're without a win in 4. So in all unlikelihood, I just don't think they're going to reach the playoffs, are they? Let's be honest. Although what I will say is that they've still had an excellent season, and I think Tony Mowbray still earned the right to be there next season because the budget they're on and the rebuilding job they had, given they lost Adam Armstrong. So they've had a lot to deal with. So I think Blackburn still earned the right to keep Tony Mowbray and build next season. Then we have Birmingham 2, Coventry 4, and this game is basically just all about set pieces, really. A goal from Birmingham corner, then a goal from a throw-in, then Coventry free kick, Ben Sheaf goal, then another Ben Sheaf goal from a corner, then Michael Rowe scored from a corner in the second half, and then Callum O'Hare just sealed the game off with a lovely goal from him. Well, I say lovely goal. It was a lovely move, and then he just had a simple tap in. But for Birmingham, just very inconsistent now. It just seems like win-loss for them. And I think Lee Bowyer's still got a little bit of work to do to build faith and trust for the fans for him to be the guy next season, because they are just so inconsistent. But as for Coventry, they look really strong for next season, to be fair. And it's so good for them. They've got loads of different players contributing to goals. You've got Hamer now on 3 goals and 9 assists, Callum O'Hare on 5 goals, 7 assists, Gokares on 15 goals, 5 assists, and then Godden, who's injured, on 12 goals, 2 assists. So if Coventry can keep that core quality players, core top tier quality players, so the likes of Gokares and Hamer, if they can keep them for next season, Coventry have got a fantastic chance of reaching the playoffs. Also, before I move on, shout out to Gene Koch, the Birmingham goalkeeper. His first start for Birmingham, not the best game, obviously, conceding 4 goals, but I guess from Birmingham's point of view, they'll be looking to just experiment with different players and different formations from now to the end of the season, and that benefits the likes of Gene Koch, who got his first start for Blues, and hopefully he won't be dropped for the next game, and maybe he can put in a run of good performances for the team from now to the end of the season. Then we have Preston 1, Millwall 1, basically the Murray Wallace show. Terrible own goal in the first half, but then stunning, powerful header in the first half. Excellent from him. Brilliant cross from Jed Wallace, which allows Murray Wallace to get a lot of pace on the ball, and then his ability to get his net back and just head the ball into the corner. Keeper had no chance, so fair play to Murray Wallace. Excellent finish, and it's only a draw for Millwall, but that's then the run they're on now. They've only have 2 losses in 13 since their 3-0 away defeat against Fulham. So they've put in really good, consistent performances. The challenge for Millwall now is next season, can they turn some of those draws into wins? I'm thinking of the likes of Borough at home, where they drew 0-0, and then Blackburn away, where they drew 0-0 and had no shots on target. And I guess at the time, that Blackburn result was an excellent draw. But I think Millwall need to go for the win in a few more games in order to pick up those wins to get them up the table. But take nothing away from Gary Rowett and his squad. They've still had a fantastic season given the budget they're on. So Millwall definitely shouldn't be too ashamed of just missing out on the playoffs. They've still had a fantastic season. Then we have Swansea 1, Barnsley 1. And to be fair, Barnsley played very well in this game. At least deserved a draw, if not a win. Their ability to press high up the pitch caused Swansea a lot of problems. Swansea couldn't play out from the back as usual, and it led to the Barnsley's goal. Excellent pressing for them. Bassi played a great ball in behind to Claudio Gomez. Excellent finish from him, and you just wonder whether Bassi and Dominicus Cunha were available for Barnsley at the beginning of the season. Would Barnsley be out the relegation zone? Because Bassi and Cunha, especially Bassi though, has had a fantastic impact on this Barnsley team. And it's just a case of what if for Barnsley, to be fair. And what if within the game? Because Barnsley should have gone 2-0 up with a goal that was crossed in, and then the Swansea defender almost turned it into his own net to make it 2-0, potentially 2-0, but then Swansea go right up the other end, and Oliver Neacham scored an excellent goal to make it 1-0. And then Barnsley just hanging on from that point because Swansea pile on the pressure as the home team normally does, and then Liam Kitching, arguably that is a handball. I don't know how the referee didn't give that, but perhaps that should have been a penalty to Swansea in all likelihood. And then Barnsley would have lost the game. And then as a Barnsley fan, you're thinking, how have we lost this game? Because in all likelihood, given the chances created, Barnsley probably deserved to win. They played very well. And like I said, it's just a case of what if for them. They were without a win in 4, and the maximum number of points Barnsley can get is 45. So in all likelihood, they probably will get relegated. Then we have Stoke 0, Bristol City 1. The game where both managers are basically fighting for their chance to take the team forward next season. Bristol City, it looked like their front three were back. The front three of Vyman, Martin and Semenyo. Seemed like they played very well. Semenyo almost recreating his form from January and February. Fantastic shot from him in the first half, almost scoring. But then Stoke, they kind of fought for their lives, tried to come back. They created an XG of 1.67. So arguably Stoke created the better chances and deserved to win. But for Bristol City, they managed to get the goal. I don't think Jay De Silva meant it. I massively said he had so much time to cross the ball. He definitely didn't mean it, for sure. Whether he says that in his interview, I do not know. But anyway, Bristol City managed to get the 1-0 win. And since Stoke's really bad defeat against Cardiff, they have 3 wins and 2 defeats. So in terms of assessing whether Michael O'Neill is the man to take them forward next season, after that horrific performance against Cardiff, he's got 3 wins, which is decent. I still think he needs to do more to potentially take the team forward next season. And I think some Stoke fans will agree when I say that, because he's not been just quite convincing enough to convert the Stoke fans that he can take them forward next season. But also, for Stoke, it was William Forrester's second start at centre-back. So obviously at this stage of the season now, a lot of young players are going to be played and playing different formations. So it's good from Stoke's point of view to see young players like Forrester starting for them. Then we have West Brom 2, Blackpool 1. A really important result for West Brom and Steve Bruce, because like managers like Lee Bowyer and Michael O'Neill, these guys are trying to build something for next season and avoid the sack. So Steve Bruce, I think that's the case with him, given that since he's come in, it's not been the prettiest of football and he's not got the results. But they got a last-minute winner, to be fair. And it was a great cross by Adam Reach in the first half and Andy Carroll scoring. He's had a fantastic season, I guess, since he's been back in the eyes of the public, really, when he joined Reading, put in good performances for them. And then at the end of that contract, he's joined West Brom and done a job for them. And I think he's earned another contract for next season. And it was a good goal from him. But like I say, Baggies, just not the most consistent team at the moment, not playing pretty football. But then, to be fair, they got the win. And for Blackpool, though, they got the equaliser. Epiteka, shout out to him, he scored in back-to-back games and he's played in 36 games for Blackpool this season, first time in the Championship. To be fair, like a lot of the Blackpool players, but for him, Marvin Epiteka, first season in the Championship, played 36 games, 5 goals, and if you look at his career, he's consistently progressed up the divisions and he's performed really well. He's been a really good defender for them and I'm sure he'll be there next season, but I think in a couple of seasons' time, if he keeps up these performances, I wouldn't be surprised if he played in the Premier League. Whether that's for Blackpool or not, I'm not so sure. But Blackpool, they've not been in great form, losing against Forest, losing against their bitter rivals Preston, losing against West Brom, but they've still had a fantastic season because, like I said, so many of their players in the squad played in League One last season or have just never played at Championship level before. So for Neil Critchley, and this is his first season in the Championship, so for Neil Critchley to get this Blackpool side playing good football and be safe so early on in the season and develop good young players is all credit to him and Blackpool. So I think no matter what, Blackpool have still had a very, very good season. Then finally, Hull 2, Cardiff 1. An important win for Hull, given that they've not been good at home. A very dominant first half from them. Well-taken finishes. Good pace and tempo from them. That's what Hull will be expecting from now to the end of the season. The fans will certainly be expecting that. Great performance from them. Cardiff made 7 changes for this game, and just similar, I guess, to Birmingham and Stoke, they'll be experimenting with different players, young players, and different formations. Against Reading, they played a 4-2-3-1, and before that, Cardiff consistently played 5 at the back, 3 midfield, 2 up front. So this was a complete change of formation again, playing with 3 centre backs, 4 in midfield, and then 3 attackers. And again, talking about young players, only second start for Denham for Cardiff, and that will boost his confidence for sure. And it's I guess if you're a Cardiff fan, it's great to see young players coming through. It's just a case of, will Steve Morison be able to hit the ground running for next season? Because if they don't, then you would struggle to see him perhaps win the fans over, because Cardiff have got a young squad and they're playing around with lots of different formations. So it's a big risk from their point of view to go with these young players. But at the same time, it's also very exciting. But not a great performance from them. They'll be looking to bounce back. But like I said, for Hull, it was important that they finally won at home, and they'll be wanting to put in these good performances in from now until the end of the season. So that was all the Championship games. A lot to get through. I really appreciate you guys watching this. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you later.